All right. Hello, everybody. Um, I am not live streaming. It is a recording. Uh, and I've been thinking a lot about awareness. I've been doing meditation practices with Michael Taft, doing the whole non-dual thing and reading a ton. And it's interesting how often I talk to him about meditation or talk to or read stuff. I'm like, oh, well, this is what we do in Laban, like, or there's these different relationships from different systems. So the thing that have been finding very interesting of late is awareness, of course, but awareness that's really broad and expansive, and then awareness that's very specific and pinpointed. And sometimes I think that in the sort of Western idea of pinpointed focus, it can be a little graspy and stressful, or there can be tension there. I'm just going to mute you, Terry, because I see that you're not muted yet. And so the idea is to allow our pinpointed focus to be very light and easy, and then our broad focus to also be very light and easy, or very like whatever it is. It doesn't have to be light and easy. It could be expansive and shifting, but just to play with this idea of awareness moving around in these different ways, like this expansive, in Laban, we would call it indirect space, when our awareness is still in the environment. It's not just, but I could also feel like that awareness could be in the environment of my body. So I could be internally in indirect space, and I'm bending Laban rules a little bit here for this explanation of awareness. Or it could be very pinpointed, focused in one area. But it can also be both at the same time. They can both happen. And yeah, so my invitation today, and I see that Michael's really movie today. So is feel free to take this as big or as small as you want. Like you may want to move a lot, you may want to move a little, you may want to be totally still and just play within awareness. But I want to use the ooh, ah, e sounds as a means of playing with the dimension of space and just feeling what happens with each one. Like if I really do an ooh, my mouth is in that ooh, that small shape, and I'm really directing ooh, the sound and the breath straight out in sort of a direct space way. If I go with the ah, ah, it's opening up and out. If I go with an E, E, my experience of the E isn't so much that it's going out as that it's really floating in this horizontal plane. So what I want to do is use the play of those three sounds, ooh, ah, E, shifting and changing just to let your awareness dance with that. It might be a totally different experience for you, and that is fine. So we're going to use the music of our own voices. It doesn't even have to be musical. It could be really crunchy and crusty, but to play with these sounds and feel how they shape out into awareness, where we're going specific, where we're going expansive, or where we're feeling both. And I don't want to say go big, go small, go big, go small. Like I don't want to direct that. I want to just allow you to play with your own awareness in that way. If you're in a space where it's not comfortable to make vocal sound that's with your vocal cords, you can also do which will also change the relationship of inner outer. So there's this relationship of inner outer, then there's this relationship of expansive or specific pinpointed, and we're just going to dance with that in any way in movement, in any way in awareness, in any way in sound, allowing yourself to take breasting breaths, the breasting breaths that come from your boobs, resting breaths that are just relaxed if you feel like you're getting too tired, too muchy, any of that. But this is maybe going to be a more active day for me, and it may not be so active for you. I'm also seeing the movement in the room and feeling excited about that. Yay! Here we go. Wow. Wow. different sounds and different movements might bring up different images, or maybe you're purely in sensation. Whatever the experience of this is, simply allow it and follow it. Just opening up to whatever's arising. Ideally with equanimity, where it's like, oh, that's what's happening. So we're in a very non-judgmental, sort of free and easy place. But maybe sometimes tensions come in or memories or something. And if they do, that's okay too. Ah. Allowing yourself to take in from the external world anything that's interesting, and also to take in from the internal world anything that's interesting. So we're doing this inner outer as we also play with, where is my awareness right now? What am I noticing now? How am I noticing it now? And in a sense, I also want to say we're not really looking for words to explain everything. None of that even matters. This could be just 100% kinesthetic experience where you're just in the feeling realm and it's not words at all. Inviting in the freedom of like pure bodily expression. So anything that wants to come out is allowed to, in a non-harming way. You don't want to start banging your head on the floor or anything like that. We could just say maybe there's an overlying gentleness for the nervous system. And something I'm noticing is that when I do the ooh with an outward awareness or an outward expression, it's one thing. But when I do the ooh with an internal awareness, it's much more of a huge bubble as opposed to a streamlined breath. So the ooh versus the ooh internal vibration are really different. And in your movement play, however big or small it is, keep allowing yourself to move towards maybe what's not your normal movement pattern or something that's unfamiliar. Like that's where the edges are, that's where the learning is, and that's where the shift is, right around the edges of what we know. And some ways to play with that are to, one way is when you notice you're going into a pattern to shift it and change it. Another way is to stay longer than you might want to, right? if I'm in an area, I know I always say let's move towards pleasure, but let's say like I'm in this thing, I'm like, well, maybe if I just pause and hang out with it a little bit, feeling into different relationships of being. There's an elven creature in another room over there looking at me and participating. And you could also play, like I have actually got people in my Zoom room and I can play with them, but I can also pretend that I'm playing with whoever is watching this in the replay, right? You can play with me in the playful space, especially when we're interacting with the outer or even within the inner, the unknown of the inner, in that playful space. Ha is the unknown, right? There's some free flow. There's some chance for stuff to happen that isn't planned. I can pinpoint my visual focus as I go expansive on my kinesthetic focus, right? There's many different ways of playing with this. Or I can go expansive on my visual focus while I pinpoint my kinesthetic focus. That's another strange thing. Or I can go very broad in my sound, my ears, my listening focus, broad in my movement focus, in my bodily awareness, and broad in my visual focus. And when I stop all of that and I bring it in, what's going on then? What do I feel in my whole system? There's like the trace memory, the somatic impression left behind of all that movement and awareness. What happens when I slow that down or speed it up? Maybe one of the simplest ways to shift your pattern is to change your tempo. If we were talking in Laban terms, we would talk about sustained time when we're slowing down the movement. Not when it's just going slow evenly, but when the slowing down, when there's change in tempo, that's when we're sustaining the time. And then quick time is when it speeds up. Might just be a flash. If we're just going fast all the time, we don't talk about time. It's only when we make the changes. What happens to your awareness when you speed up? What happens to your awareness when you slow down? What happens when you pause, resting in stillness? even thinking of radiating outward versus coming back into center. I want to say collapsing in, but it doesn't have to be a defeated collapse. It could just be like a returning to center so we can radiate out in multiple directions, like a star radiating out into the universe, where we can come into ourselves, right? That drawing down into the point of being within yourself. Which can happen and is sort of always happening on the level of breath with the growing and shrinking of the breath. We're radiating outward, we're filling up, and then we're coming back into ourselves. What happens when we hold our breath and we don't allow that fullness of taking up space in the body? I don't mean deliberate breath holds. I mean when we're kind of frozen. Sometimes I feel like sometimes I just did that frozen thing. And then I felt the need for a big exhale. Right before I was ready to take in, I needed to let go of something. So there's this idea of gathering into ourselves and then opening out. What happens to awareness as I gather in? Does it desire to be out? Or maybe it is out. Maybe there's this massive expanse of awareness that I can feel even as I'm coming into myself. I think I'm going to give us music to play with. I'm going to share sound. And I think we're going to go with Anthony on this one, if I can find the long version. There it is, the birth intro long, which is really not that long. It's only 4.5 minutes, but let's play with that. Turn up the volume a little bit and see what this brings up into your system. think I'm going to do one more. It's probably going to be very different. So I'm going to give it a try and see how it goes. This is Michelle Aiello, and the song is called Steilheit, which means stillness in German. But I'll give it a shot. It's the exact opposite of stillness. Well, those two experiences could hardly have been any more different. I will say, the first one really launched me into a total kinesthetic thing. And then the second one was like some free jazz. Just giving your body a few minutes, maybe to go back to the sounds, the ooh, ah, ee, with breath or with vocal cords, just for like maybe 3 or 4 more minutes, just to come back into ourselves and our own experience, minus that external. The music really has an effect, if you're especially like on our dancing bodies. Yeah, coming back into that loop of the awareness that has already experienced all this stuff. This life has been stirred up. What's in there now? In this moment. All right, so I'm going to end the recording there. Maybe I'll just, yeah, oops, I have to figure out how to do all these things. Stop recording.